Good morning, my fellow human beings. I'm I Love Everyone, and today I'm going to be talking about a zero waste essential, composting. Now, composting is basically the cornerstone of the lifestyle, I think, because it may be on the bottom of Bea Johnson's zero waste triangle, the last R on her 5 R's. However, it is the most important thing, I think, because it's how you eliminate most of your waste is to compost it. And without further ado, I'm just going to get started. The other reason that composting is so important is because when we throw all of our food scraps to landfill, they end up decomposing without oxygen, which produces methane, which is a very harmful greenhouse gas, even more potent than carbon dioxide. And we have tons and tons of wasted food decomposing in landfill without oxygen. Americans throw away 40% of our food. Also, when you're talking about zero waste, you want to also try not to waste your food. So you want to minimize your compost by really buying what you need and really using as little as possible. Um, but, it's unavoidable, and you can compost things like cardboard, nail clippings, hair, the list goes on, like things that are a little bit unconventional that are not necessarily food. And I think you should compost them over recycling them because I think that composting is a natural process, but recycling is a very energy intensive process. And so if you're going to compost, I think because it's more natural and the energy is being inputted into the system by worms and things who are actually getting benefit from that as well, I think is just a better option if you can. I do recycle a lot of cardboard, especially with the ones with the plastic coats. But, like egg cartons, you can compost and things of that nature. There are actually a few different ways you can go about composting, even if you have a backyard. My mom has a plastic composter, which, she got for $40. You put everything in it, you stir it occasionally, and then there's a hatch at the bottom, and you open it, and then the stuff underneath that's become soil or whatever you can use in your garden while the stuff on the top can still, remain intact and keep composting, which is pretty cool. And it mostly keeps animals out. Some of them eat through the plastic. Is totally fine. Like, the occasional plastic is not a bad thing, and I'm sure you really could buy a metal one if you wanted to. It would just be more expensive. And then the other thing is, Rob Greenfield actually has a composter that is basically just a hole that he dug, and he puts a tarp over it so that it heats up, and it's a way more efficient composter because it'll break down things that, like feces, that, most composters, won't break down. You don't really want it as part of your compost, but it has to heat to a lot in order to do that. That's really not for everybody, and I understand not wanting to compost that sort of thing. But also I think that type of composter would work for meat as well if you choose to eat meat, but not dairy. I think dairy is kind of an anomaly. It really doesn't break down as easily. You could throw that kind of thing in that composter as well. And so the other thing that you could do that I've seen that I want so badly is a worm composter. Like one that you keep in your house. It's got a bunch of layers, it's got worms, and you throw everything in and they compost it for you in your house, which is really cool, especially like me. I have an apartment. I don't really have access to the backyard, and there isn't a front yard. So for me, that would be the ideal. However, that is not what I do. I have this, which is a bucket, and sponsored, as you can see, if the glare would ever stop being glary, by Bennett Compost. and basically I pay a $15 a month fee, and they pick up my compost in front of my door and they compost it for me. And then they also sell that, which, I'm not really going to buy compost from them, especially when I'm already paying them. But I think that it's really good that they're doing this, and I'm really glad that, I can put my compost somewhere, because you really can't just throw peels in a backyard. And even if I could, my neighbors back there have a dog, which would probably eat everything anyway, so that probably wouldn't go too well. So for me right now, this is the best alternative. I don't think overall it is, because you obviously are paying for someone to drive around and pick up your compost. It's still using energy, so it's not the most efficient way, I think. But if you're in my situation where there really isn't another way to do compost effectively, then this is the way. I really support this company. I think what they're doing is great. They've made it convenient for me to be zero waste, and like $15 a month is like nothing. I pay 4 times as much for internet, so it doesn't seem like a lot to me. I really appreciate what they do. I just wanted to talk about that because I think that it's just something that people assume that you just do, and people don't have options. People wondering how you can be zero waste. It's really easy, and sometimes doing zero waste you can also do at a level of convenience, like having my compost picked up instead of having to actually worry about a composter is convenient, and I appreciate that convenience. That's really it for this video. Thank you for watching, and DFTBA.